Last year, the entire United States sold 486,468 new motorcycles. Three countries you've probably never thought of as motorcycle powerhouses, Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia, sold more than 5 million combined. That's better than 10 to 1. There's a brand that controls roughly 70% of an entire country's motorcycle market, one country south of the US border, and most Americans have never even heard of it. There's a Honda that outsells every car in Brazil, and it's not the Honda you'd recognize. Today we're ranking the 5 biggest motorcycle blind spots America has. Number 5 you'll nod along with. Number 1 is going to feel personal, because it's happening right next door. Quick reality check on how Americans actually buy motorcycles. The average new bike here costs just under $12,000. A new Harley starts around $15,000 and climbs past $25,000. We finance these things for 5 to 7 years and ride them mostly on weekends. One honest caveat before we go further. The prices coming up, $1,000, $2,000, are what these bikes cost in their home markets. Currency exchange moves that number. The point isn't the exact figure, it's the gap between that figure and ours. Here's the ranking. 5 spots, counting down from the brands that completely missed this market to the one brand most of you have never heard of that quietly outsells everyone. Number 5, premium Western brands. Number 5 is the category Americans assume should be winning everywhere. US, Harley-Davidson, BMW, the big European brands. They've had distribution across Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia for years. The bikes are genuinely well built. But a $15,000 motorcycle is asking someone earning a fraction of an American salary to spend years of income on a recreational vehicle in a market where the bike is how you get to work, not how you spend your Saturday. Combined, American and premium European brands hold a sliver of these 3 markets, well under 5% in most segments. Beautiful machines built for a customer who, down there, barely exists. Number 4, the Chinese wave that failed. Number 4 is China. And this one's a cautionary tale every winner on this list quietly benefited from. Through the 2000s and 10s, Chinese manufacturers flooded Latin America with motorcycles priced as low as $800, undercutting everyone. For a while it worked, then the bikes started coming back. Frames cracked at the weld points because the steel was thinner than it needed to be. Wiring harnesses corroded and shorted out after one rainy season because the insulation wasn't rated for the climate. Swing arm bushings wore out in months instead of years. None of these are exotic failures. They're the textbook results of cutting cost on the parts nobody sees until they break. And when they broke, there was nowhere to take them. Dozens of brands that exported into the region in the 2000s simply don't exist anymore. A motorcycle that's the only vehicle a family owns can survive being basic. It cannot survive being disposable. And that's the lesson every brand still standing in this market actually learned. Number 3, Colombia, the two-way fight. Number 3 is Colombia, where motorcycles now make up more than half the entire national vehicle fleet, roughly 1 bike for every 5 people in the country. In 2025, the single best-selling motorcycle model in all of Colombia, out of every brand on sale, was a 124 cubic centimeter commuter called the AKTNKD 125, built by a homegrown Colombian company. It costs around $1,300, makes about 10 horsepower, and sales grew over 35% that year alone. Here's the twist. While AKT had the best-selling individual model, the company that actually moved the most total motorcycles across all of Colombia that year wasn't AKT. It was Bajaj, the Indian manufacturer, narrowly out-totaling AKT by brand. 2 companies from 2 different countries fighting over the exact customer Harley and BMW never tried to reach. Part of why the NKD 125 wins isn't just the price. The bike has become so embedded in Colombian street riding that an entire secondary market grew around it. Aftermarket parts, modifications, custom bodywork, all cheap and widely available because there are so many of them on the road. That's a loop American brands never cracked in these markets. When enough identical bikes are on the road, the market builds its own service infrastructure without the manufacturer having to engineer it from the top down. Number 2, Brazil's flex fuel giant. Number 2 is Brazil. And this is the one that should genuinely surprise anyone who thinks they know Honda. The Honda CG160 isn't a name on any American showroom floor. In 2025, it alone accounted for roughly 22% of every motorcycle sold across the entire country, in a market that hit 2.35 million total units. It became Brazil's best-selling vehicle, period, ahead of every car, ahead of the Fiat Strada. Brazil's top-selling car for years running. It makes 14.5 horsepower from a single-cylinder engine that's barely changed its core formula in 50 years. And it has one piece of engineering most Americans have never seen on a motorcycle. It's flex fuel. The same engine burns pure gasoline, pure ethanol, or any blend of the two, and automatically adjusts its fuel mapping and ignition timing on the fly depending on what's in the tank. Brazil pioneered ethanol fuel decades ago because it grows enough sugarcane to make it cheap, and Honda simply built an engine around whatever's at the pump that week. These bikes are assembled at a massive Honda plant deep in the Amazon, in Manaus, specifically to serve this market. Motoboys run them from sunrise to midnight in tropical rain that would have most American cruisers pulled over on the shoulder. The same brand Americans associate with the Civic and the Goldwing also builds the actual best-selling vehicle in South America's largest economy, and almost nobody watching this knew its name before today. Number 1, Mexico, the one next door. Number 1, and this is the one that should actually bother you, because it's not 3 continents away. It's Mexico. One single Mexican brand, Italica, controls somewhere between 68 and 70% of the entire national motorcycle market. Not 70% of one segment, roughly 70% of every motorcycle sold in the country, more than every other competitor combined. Italica doesn't sell bikes through dealerships. It's owned by the same company that owns Electra, Mexico's biggest household appliance retailer, and Banco Azteca, its consumer bank. So you walk into the same store where you'd buy a refrigerator, and you walk out with a motorcycle on a weekly payment plan, no car loan credit required. You don't need to qualify for a vehicle loan. You need a job and the ability to make a small weekly payment, and Banco Azteca handles the rest at the same counter where they sell televisions. A brand most Americans have genuinely never heard of controls more of the market in the country directly south of our border than every other brand combined. And you currently cannot walk into a dealership anywhere in the United States and buy one. Italica has no real US distribution at all. The 3 things every winner did. 3 different countries, 3 completely different winners. But they all did the same 3 things, and those 3 things are exactly what every brand ranked 4 and 5 on this list refused to do. First, they priced for real customers, not aspirational ones. Harley entered Latin America with bikes starting at $15,000 in markets, where those bikes are simply out of reach for the people who actually need transportation. Italica, the CG160, the AKTNK D125, all of them priced for the person who actually exists in these markets, not the premium buyer who might theoretically show up someday. Second, they built the ecosystem before they needed to. Selling a motorcycle is easy. Making sure it can be serviced 5 years from now in a town with no dealership, that's actually the product. Italica stocks parts at the same Electra stores that sell the bikes. Honda's Brazilian mechanic infrastructure grew around the CG160 because there's simply no other engine in the country at that volume. The Chinese brand sold motorcycles. They didn't build ecosystems. That's the whole story. Third, they engineered for the worst case, not the best case. The CG160's flex fuel system isn't a bonus feature. It's an admission that you cannot assume your customer has access to a specific fuel grade. Italica's air-cooled engines are less sophisticated than what Honda puts in a Civic, deliberately, because an air-cooled single can be diagnosed with your eyes and fixed with a wrench. A KT's suspension is tuned for Colombian roads, not a European test track. Every one of those decisions is a form of respect for the actual customer and the conditions they actually ride in. Why Americans are missing this? 3 reasons this stays invisible here. 1. Brand perception. Americans hear $1,300 and assume it means low quality. In Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia, people judge a bike by one question: does it still run in 3 years? By that standard, these brands have already won, repeatedly, at scale. 2. Zero marketing. Harley spends real money making sure you know its name. Italica, AKT, the basic Bajaj lineup, spend almost nothing on US advertising, because they're not trying to sell here. If a brand never markets to you, you never hear of it, no matter how dominant it is somewhere else. 3. You mostly cannot buy them here yet. Italica has no US presence. AKT has none. The one brand in this conversation that's actually made the move is Royal Enfield, with over 150 dealerships across 48 US states, and the Himalayan 450 starting at $5,799. For context, Harley's own adventure bike, the Pan America 1250, starts at $17,319. Both are adventure motorcycles, Whether the Pan America is 3 times better for how most people actually use an adventure bike is a question worth sitting with. There's one more angle that doesn't get talked about enough. Every bike in this ranking is a machine you can actually work on yourself. No proprietary diagnostic software, no dealer-only scan tools, basic tools, straightforward engines, parts that cost real money rather than dealer premiums. For anyone who still turns their own wrenches, this entire market segment is worth paying attention to for that reason alone. And here's what's actually happening right now. Royal Enfield is expanding US dealerships aggressively. Bajaj is exploring North American distribution. Hero Motocorp, which produces more motorcycles annually than Harley, Ducati, and BMW combined by volume, has publicly discussed interest in Western markets. When even one of these brands gets genuine US distribution at the price points they sell elsewhere, the entire American budget segment under $8,000 looks different overnight. So here's the full ranking. Number 5, premium Western brands, priced out before they started. Number 4, China, won on price, lost on quality. Number 3, Colombia, where AKT and Bajaj are fighting a volume war most Americans don't know exists. Number 2, Brazil, where a Honda you've never heard of outsells every car in the country. Number 1, Mexico, where a single brand controls more of the market than every competitor combined, one country south of the border. None of these bikes needed America's approval. They already won, in the only market that actually decides anything, the one where people are betting their income on the machine starting tomorrow morning. So here's the question for the comments. If a $1,300 motorcycle had already outsold Honda combined with every other brand in an entire country, would you actually consider one? Or does it still have to say Harley or Honda or BMW on the tank before it counts as a real motorcycle to you? Be honest, no hate, just real talk. I'll pin the best answers. If this changed how you think about what winning actually means in the motorcycle world, hit subscribe, because we're ranking the next region next. Thanks for watching.